CeeDee Lamb is personally my favorite rookie wide receiver going into the 2020 NFL season. I think he'll be the best one from the 2020 class when it's all said and done. Lamb was an absolute stud at Oklahoma these last few years and will go down as one of the best to ever do it for the Sooners. But how did he exactly get here? And how did he become a star? In today's video, we'll be talking about the journey of CeeDee Lamb, how he became a college football superstar, and why he's the future of the Dallas Cowboys. If you are new, I make videos about college football and the NFL, and if you clicked on this, you must be a football fan, so why not take a quick moment to subscribe and help me reach 4K subs by the end of August. Let me know who I should do next down in the comment section, and now let's get started with the rise of CeeDee Lamb. Like so many other star players, CeeDee grew up in the fertile football grounds of Texas, but that is not where he's originally from. The Lamb family originally grew up in Louisiana, and he was a diehard LSU fan from the very beginning. His dream was to play football for the Tigers, but then Hurricane Katrina happened. They had to evacuate, and the family would move to Dallas, Texas. He arrived in Fort Bend, Texas later on, and he was a star football player from the very beginning. His real name is Cedarian, but he got the nickname CD in practice one day. He was always super fast, so his coach would call him DVD because of the highlight reel plays he would make, but then it just got shortened to CD instead. Lamb was always happy, fun to be around, and had a ton of friends, but there were some deep down struggles for him and his family. His mother worked at a hospital and would have to drive him 45 minutes one day, 5 days a week, just so he could go to football practice. Lamb would sit in the backseat of his car doing homework while his mom drove him to practice. He didn't know it at the time, but his mom knew he had special talent, so she drove him all that way so he could get the best coaching and have the best opportunity to succeed. Lamb saw his mother struggle and was not only determined to become the best football player he could be, but also the best, most hardworking person he could be. Despite the positive attitude and work ethic, CeeDee lost his stepdad to a shooting, his uncle to a disease, and his cousin to a shooting while he was growing up, and he channeled all that pain into motivation on the field. He would go on to play for the Fort Bend Express, a prestigious trial team where he'd play alongside LSU safety Grant Delpit and Texas A&M wide receivers Jamin Osborne and Ezekiel Jones. They went undefeated 3 times and were also state champs 3 times, while all 4 of them became studs. When it came time for recruiting, CeeDee liked LSU, and he was seen as one of the best wide receivers in the country. And honestly, he was going to be able to play wherever he wanted to. As a senior, he caught 98 passes for 2,032 yards and a near Texas record 33 touchdowns. He originally committed to Oklahoma, but after he got cold feet, he decided to reopen his recruitment and determine what was best for him. It would ultimately come down to Texas A&M and Oklahoma once again, but he recommitted to the Sooners. In terms of LSU, they didn't offer until it was too late, and he ended up not even considering them. He was originally joined by 4-star recruit and current 2020 first-round draft pick Jalen Reagor, but he flipped his commitment to TCU. According to 24/7 Sports, Lamb was a 4-star recruit, the number 24 wide receiver, and the 148th best player in the class of 2017. Lamb's mother's sacrifice paid off for the family. CeeDee was headed to one of college football's premier programs to get better and hopefully make it to the NFL one day. Going into the 2017 season, CeeDee became really close with sophomore wide receiver Marquise Brown, and the two quickly became best friends. Them, plus freshman Charleston Rambo, all worked out together and got better and better. The Sooners won their first-year head coach Lincoln Riley after Mark Stoops decided to retire. They're expected to win the Big 12, but Oklahoma would need some young playmakers to step up, and Marquise Brown and CeeDee Lamb would both do so. They opened up the season with a win against UTEP, where Lamb would catch his first career touchdown. The following week they had a huge road game against number 2 Ohio State, and College Game Day was there to cover it. The Sooners won, and Lamb caught 5 passes in the process. Against Tulane, he caught 131 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he was beginning to break out as a legit option. After a win over a terrible Baylor team, Oklahoma lost a really weird home game to Iowa State in what would jumpstart the Cyclones' Cinderella 2017 campaign. They were in danger of missing out on the playoff now, and they beat Texas in the Red River rivalry to get back on track. After a win over Kansas State, CeeDee would have the game that would make some people believe he was a future superstar. Against Texas Tech, he got a career-high 9 passes for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns in their blowout win. The Sooners finished the regular season with 4 more wins, 2 coming against number 6 TCU and number 11 Oklahoma State in the Bedlam game. They were up to number 2 in the country and were set for a rematch with number 10 TCU. CeeDee didn't play in the game, but Oklahoma beat the Horned Frogs pretty easily. They would go on to finish the season 12-1, and they got selected to be in the college football playoff. They were matched up against Georgia, and it was an absolute thriller of a game. In one of the best matchups I have ever seen, Georgia won in double overtime, and Oklahoma's bad playoff luck began there. Baker Mayfield would win the Heisman, but the nation had also begun to take notice of Oklahoma's young stars of Marquise Brown and CeeDee Lamb. As a true freshman, he caught 46 passes for 807 yards and 7 touchdowns, and this was enough for him to be labeled as one of the best young receivers in college football and a freshman All-American selection by ESPN. Going into 2018, Marquise Brown was going to break out, but Lamb was also going to follow suit. After an underwhelming game against Florida Atlantic, CeeDee broke out Week 2 against UCLA with 7 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. Kyler Murray was the new quarterback, and they got revenge against Iowa State. In what was a really weird game against Army, Lamb caught 2 touchdowns in their overtime win. He caught an 86-yard pass in their win against Baylor, and now came time for their showdown against number 19 Texas in the Red River rivalry game. In what was a huge milestone for the Longhorns, they knocked off Oklahoma by way of a game-winning field goal, and Lamb caught 75 yards and a touchdown in that game. Oklahoma rebounded with a road win over TCU, and then Lamb caught 160 yards and 2 touchdowns in a near-career game against Kansas State. He ended up having a bit of a cooling-off period during the last 4 games of the regular season, as he only caught 17 passes for 200 yards and no touchdowns in their wins against Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Kansas, and number 13 West Virginia. Oklahoma would go on to go 11-1 once again, and they would get a rematch against Texas in the Big 12 championship game. CeeDee and the Sooners would get their revenge as he caught 6 passes for 167 yards and a touchdown in their close win. Once again, Oklahoma was going to be headed back to the college football playoff, and this time they would be matched up against Alabama. In what is now an annual tradition, Oklahoma lost to the Tide in the first round in blowout fashion. But Lamb did have a big game though. He caught 8 passes for 109 yards and a touchdown, and he broke out onto the national scene. On the year, Marquise Hollywood Brown had become a college football superstar, and he was on the path to becoming a first-round NFL draft pick. I wouldn't say Lamb got overshadowed by him, but CeeDee was just as impressive in my opinion. He would go on to catch 65 passes for 1,158 yards and 11 touchdowns, and route to becoming a member of the Big 12's All-Second team. Marquise would go on to get drafted by the Ravens and ball out his rookie year. Now it was CeeDee's turn to take over. Going into the 2019 season, the Sooners were going to be led by Alabama transfer quarterback Jalen Hurts, and they were expected to once again not miss a beat with him at quarterback. A college football playoff appearance was now kind of the norm for them, but after a slow start against Houston Week 1, CeeDee broke out onto the scene against South Dakota with 6 catches for 144 yards and a touchdown. His only catch went for a touchdown against UCLA, and he caught a career-high 185 yards and 3 touchdowns against Texas Tech. After a win on the road against Kansas, Lamb would continue to punish Texas, as he had the game of his career. He caught 10 passes for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. Oklahoma was cruising under Hurts after they beat West Virginia, and they were all the way up to number 5 in the country. Then came the game that all Sooner fans hate to talk about when it comes to the 2019 season, Kansas State. In what was a really weird game, Kansas State took control and actually had a huge lead over Oklahoma. They did come back though, and were one controversial onside kick recovery away from potentially winning or tying that game. They would narrowly defeat Iowa State in an absolute thriller the next week, and Lamb caught 8 passes for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. In one of the best matchups of the 2019 season, Oklahoma pulled off a miracle comeback against Baylor, and their march to the playoff continued. Just like last year, Lamb cooled off to this point and struggled in their wins against TCU and number 21 Oklahoma State. The Sooners would once again go 11-1 and get back to the Big 12 championship game. Just like a few weeks ago, they went down to the wire against Baylor in that game, and it took them overtime for them to win. Lamb would get back on track as he caught 8 passes for 173 yards in that game. Somehow, Oklahoma found their way back to the playoff, but unfortunately, CeeDee was the only bright spot in their 63-28 humiliation by way of Joe Burrow's LSU Tigers. Lamb had established himself as one of the best receivers in college football and became a first-team All-American after he caught 62 passes for 1,327 yards and 14 touchdowns. He will go down as one of the best Sooner wideouts ever and declared for the 2020 NFL Draft. Following in the footsteps of Sterling Shepard, D.D. Westbrook, and his best friend Marquise Brown, Lamb was taken with the 17th overall pick by the Dallas Cowboys in the 2020 NFL Draft. I think this was a great move by Dallas, and I'm almost certain he has the potential to become a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Yes, I mean what I said there. He has the drive, the work ethic, the body, the motivation, and the stats to become a superstar, and I'm super excited to watch him this year. It'll really be the only reason I have to watch the Cowboys. If you are a Dallas fan, let me know if you're excited for him and if you guys think he made the right pick. And if you're an Oklahoma fan, let me know who you think the best wide receiver to ever come through Oklahoma is. If you are rooting for Lamb, want to support this channel, or enjoyed today's video, please be sure to smash that like button to help this video and my channel grow. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe and help me reach 4K subscribers by the end of August. And if you're still here, check out my video about the rise of A.J. Brown and all my other NFL player story videos. Until next time though, peace.